They say you've changed. But here's the truth. You just started saying no. No to chaos disguised as love. No to roles you never auditioned for. No to being the emotional landfill for people who never cleaned up their own mess. You didn't change. You woke up. You stopped shrinking for comfort. You started choosing yourself, in silence, without applause. And for the first time, your boundaries spoke louder than your explanations ever could. Most people won't get this. They're still trapped in guilt loops, explaining their needs to people committed to misunderstanding them. They still think self-respect is arrogance. But if you've ever been called selfish just for choosing peace, this message is for you. This isn't advice. This is a mirror. You started saying no, and people vanished. At first, it stung. You thought love meant bending, but slowly, you saw the truth. Their presence was conditional, and your people-pleasing wasn't love. It was survival. When you show that you can live without someone, you gain power. Robert Greene Western culture romanticizes being needed, but neediness is not love. In a study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, people with healthier boundaries reported higher relationship satisfaction, even if it meant losing others first. The pain you felt? It wasn't from losing them. It was from betraying yourself for so long. When you stop being emotionally available 24/7, they say, you've changed. But selfishness isn't choosing yourself. It's expecting others to abandon themselves for you. What they miss isn't your presence. It's your compliance. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. Marcus Aurelius. In Western cultures, autonomy is seen as strength, but paradoxically, it's still punished, especially in the sensitive. According to APA research, those called selfish for asserting boundaries often have a history of emotional manipulation. You're not selfish, you're self-aware. You used to over-explain everything, to keep the peace, to be liked, to be safe. Now, you've learned that silence speaks. You stopped handing out emotional manuals to people who never intended to read them. Always say less than necessary. Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. Over-explaining is often a trauma response, a fawn reflex, where people-pleasing becomes self-protection. You don't do that anymore. You say it once, or not at all, because your worth doesn't depend on being understood. You stopped showing up to emotional wars where peace was never an option. They say, you've become distant, but you haven't become cold. You've become clear. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung. You saw their chaos and recognized that it was never your job to clean it up. In a culture that glorifies empaths and healers, you learned absorbing toxicity isn't noble. It's abandonment of self. You've learned to disappoint those who expected you to stay sick just so they could feel well. You used to feel bad for disappearing. Now you understand. Some things heal in silence. You're not hiding, you're repairing. According to Psychology Today, intentional withdrawal is one of the healthiest responses to emotional burnout. You stopped updating people who never checked in when you were breaking. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. The process is a mutual one. Seneca. You didn't ghost them. You just stopped auditioning. You didn't slam doors. You just stopped answering knocks. There was no announcement, no final message, no burning bridge. Just distance, steady and clean. Absence diminishes minor passions and inflames great ones. Robert Greene. Western culture demands closure, but closure is a luxury, not a right. You gave them all the data by how you showed up and how they didn't. You don't force understanding anymore. You trust the silence to say what words never could. There was a time you feared being alone. Now you guard your solitude like treasure. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's sovereignty. If you fulfill your obligations every day, you don't need to worry about the future. Jordan Peterson. And your first obligation is to yourself. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion shows that prioritizing peace leads to lower anxiety, stronger relationships, and more resilience. They say you've changed. You haven't. You've just returned to yourself. You used to stay in situations, in conversations, in pain. You thought loyalty meant bleeding. Now you know loyalty without reciprocity is slavery. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. You no longer fix, you witness, you love. And when needed, you walk away. In a culture obsessed with saving others, you've chosen surrender, letting people face themselves uninterrupted. Because enabling isn't compassion, it's control in disguise. After everyone left, after you let go, after the stories collapsed, you were alone, but not empty. In the silence, something else appeared. Self-respect, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't beg, doesn't perform, doesn't chase. The more you say, the more common you appear. Robert Greene. You've become rare. Not because you've changed, but because you remembered, respect isn't something you demand. It's something you become. So no, you didn't change. You peeled off the roles, the masks, the lies, and what remained was enough. Your silence became sacred. Your absence, a message. Your peace, a rebellion. This isn't the new you. It's the real one. Most people will keep explaining themselves, begging for closure, performing for people who wouldn't notice their absence. But if you're still here, you're not most people. You're one of the few. The ones who stopped performing, who started protecting their energy like gold. So no need to subscribe. Just remember, if they're uncomfortable with your boundaries, they were never comfortable with your worth. And if that truth hits somewhere deep inside you, you already know what to do next.